Humans are nothing but fabrications, Professor Lanksa announced to the packed lecture hall, her four arms gesturing dismissively at the holographic display. A creative fiction invented by the eccentric Vorex to gain academic attention. The three-dimensional projection displayed bizarre artifacts that defied logical explanation. Rectangular devices with glass faces, cylindrical containers made of a material called aluminum, and crude vehicles that supposedly used combustible liquids for propulsion. The students chittered with amusement. Notice the biological improbabilities. Lanksa continued, highlighting an image of a supposed human. 2 arms, 2 legs, and only a single heart. Such a fragile design could never achieve spaceflight, let alone the feats Vorex attributed to them. Nilara shifted uncomfortably in her seat at the back of the hall. As Vorex's final research assistant before his death, she had spent 3 cycles organizing his collection and notes. Unlike the others, she had seen the remarkable consistency in his research, the mathematical impossibilities of creating such an elaborate hoax spanning thousands of worlds. The most absurd claim, Lanksa's voice dripped with derision, suggests these humans progressed from primitive combustion engines to faster-than-light travel in less than 500 cycles. No species in the documented history of the Stellar Alliance has ever demonstrated such an accelerated development curve. More laughter rippled through the audience. The idea was preposterous. Evolutionary advancement followed predictable patterns. The Centauri took 12,000 cycles to develop spaceflight. The Meraxians needed nearly 20,000. As the lecture ended, Nilara slipped away before the inevitable questions about her connection to the old fool began. Outside, the 3 moons of Academus Prime cast shimmering light across the ancient university grounds. She hurried to her quarters in the research wing, punching in the security code with one tentacle while balancing Vorex's journals with her others. Inside her small apartment, she pressed her palm against a hidden scanner. The wall shimmered and disappeared, revealing a room that technically shouldn't exist. University regulations prohibited unauthorized research spaces, but Vorex had installed this hidden laboratory decades ago. Lights, she commanded, and the room illuminated to reveal display cases containing objects that would end her academic career if discovered. Unlike the common replicas Lanksa had mockingly displayed, these were the actual artifacts Vorex had recovered during his controversial expeditions to abandoned worlds. Nilara approached a small rectangular object with a cracked screen. According to Vorex's notes, humans called this a phone, a communication device with computational capabilities far beyond its apparent simplicity. She had never activated it, fearing the power signature might be detected. 3 cycles, she whispered to herself. 3 cycles until my thesis deadline, and then I can leave this place. Her plan was simple. Complete her official research on quantum xenolinguistics, receive her credentials, and then pursue Vorex's work away from the ridicule of the Academy. The old researcher's final words haunted her. They were real, Nilara, and something made them disappear, something that might someday come for us all. She carefully opened Vorex's primary journal, filled with handwritten notes in his precise script. A star chart fell out, one she hadn't noticed before. It showed a spiral galaxy with one region circled in red ink. Annotations in the margins indicated coordinates to a system officially listed as uninhabitable due to radiation. But what caught her attention was the small note at the bottom, written in a script she didn't recognize. Below it, Vorex had written a translation. Home. Return when the lights appear in the western sky. Nilara's heart raced as she realized what she was holding. Not just another theory or speculation, but directions, specific coordinates to what Vorex believed was humanity's point of origin. A sharp knock at her door startled her. She quickly sealed the hidden room and composed herself. Enter, she called, surprised to find University Security Director Thalen filling her doorway, his exoskeleton gleaming under the artificial lights. Researcher Nilara, he said formally. The Council requests your presence immediately regarding unauthorized access to restricted archives. Her blood ran cold. Someone new. This is the third time you've diverted expedition resources to investigate anomalies that match Vorex's descriptions. Commander Zextal's exoskeleton clicked with irritation as he towered over Nilara. The Council approved this mission to catalog genuine archaeological sites, not chase myths. The archaeological team had been exploring Kepler 186f for 14 standard days. Officially classified as an abandoned world, its surface was dotted with ruins predating Alliance records. Most researchers focused on the obvious structures, ceremonial spaces, and habitat domes, but Nilara had been methodically scanning for specific geometric patterns mentioned in Vorex's journals. "With respect, Commander," she replied, her tentacles steady despite her nervousness. "These angular foundations follow the exact mathematical proportions Vorex documented. The probability of coincidence is astronomically small." Zextal's compound eyes narrowed. "You escaped academic censure after that security incident last month only because of my intervention. Don't make me regret it." 3 weeks earlier, Nilara had managed to convince Director Thalen that her access to restricted archives was part of approved research. The falsehood had cost her a significant portion of her academic credits as a processing fee, but her credentials remained intact. "One more day," she pleaded. "My scans indicate a subsurface structure that doesn't match known architectural styles of any documented civilization." The commander's mandibles twitched with annoyance. "One day. Then we returned to mapping the main settlement." As twilight approached, Nilara's persistence paid off. Her excavation team uncovered a perfectly smooth metallic panel embedded in stone. Unlike the weathered ruins above, this material showed no signs of deterioration despite thousands of years exposed to the elements. "Impossible," whispered Krill, the team's materials expert, his sensory tentacles brushing the surface. "The molecular structure isn't degrading. It's actively self-repairing." Before Nilara could respond, the ground trembled. Hairline fractures appeared across the panel's surface, and the earth beneath their feet shifted. "Everyone back," she shouted as the ground gave way. When the dust settled, a perfect rectangular opening had appeared. Steps descended into darkness, illuminated only by the soft blue glow emanating from below. "We should wait for security drones," Krill suggested, but Nilara was already descending, her heartlights pulsing with excitement. The stairway led to a corridor that seemed to defy the planet's natural decay. The walls were smooth, made of the same self-repairing material as the panel above. At the corridor's end, a doorway slid open automatically as they approached. Nilara froze at the threshold, her respiratory system temporarily shutting down in shock. The chamber before them was perfectly preserved, not as a ruin, but as a functional space. Lights activated as they entered, illuminating workstations with strange devices. Along one wall stood display cases containing objects identical to those in Vorex's collection. "This is impossible," Commander Zextal whispered, all skepticism momentarily forgotten. At the center of the room stood a terminal bearing a blue and green spherical emblem. When Nilara approached, it activated, displaying symbols that exactly matched the human language samples in Vorex's notes. "The encryption keys," she murmured. "They might work here." As she reached toward the interface, the terminal projected a three-dimensional map of the galaxy with a pulsing light marking an unfamiliar location. A series of symbols appeared beneath it. "Can you read this?" the commander asked, his tone now respectful. "Not entirely," Nilara admitted. "But Vorex's notes contained partial translations. I believe it says, 'Emergency protocol activated. Displacement field integrity at 37%. Awaiting authorized personnel.'" Suddenly, the facility's lights dimmed and emergency illumination activated. A new message appeared on the terminal. "Proximity alert. Unknown entities detected in lower levels." The expedition's motion sensors began registering movement throughout the facility, dozens of signals converging on their position from below. "We're not alone down here," Nilara whispered as the first metallic sounds of approach echoed through the ancient corridors. "The data crystal is genuine," announced Talon, his crystalline appendages refracting light as he manipulated the holographic display. "The encryption matches no known algorithm in the Alliance database." 3 weeks had passed since the Kepler expedition's narrow escape. The approaching entities had turned out to be ancient security drones that Commander Zextal's team disabled with electromagnetic pulses. Before evacuation, Nilara had copied the terminal's data to a crystal and extracted a small device from one of the display cases. Decisions that violated countless protocols but might change history. Her small research vessel, ironically named Vorex's Folly by her skeptical colleagues, now housed the most unlikely research team in the Alliance. Talon, whose theories about dimensional physics had cost him his position at the Quantum Institute. Elix, a multiform xenolinguist whose fascination with fictional languages made her an outcast in academic circles. And Der-7, an artificial intelligence construct considered obsolete, but whose flexible programming allowed creative connections newer models couldn't process. "The language structure is unlike anything documented," Elix observed, her form shifting between states of excitement. "It uses symbolic representation with phonetic components rather than pure conceptual imagery." Nilara activated the small device she'd taken from the facility, a flat rectangular object with a cracked protective surface. To everyone's shock, it still functioned, displaying images of bipedal beings and landscapes of a blue-green world. "These match Vorex's descriptions of humans and Earth exactly," she whispered. Der-7's processing lights flickered rapidly. Cross-referencing terminal data with Alliance historical archives reveals systematic information gaps precisely where human civilization would have existed. The probability of natural data degradation creating such specific omissions is 0.000073%. The implications were staggering. Not a natural disappearance or extinction event, but deliberate erasure from history. "I've isolated a recurring term in the data," Elix announced. "The reflection protocol appears 73 times, always in conjunction with dimensional coordinates." Talon's appendages trembled as he examined these coordinates. This references a region of space completely absent from Alliance charts, despite being surrounded by well-documented sectors. "How is that possible?" Nilara asked. "It isn't," he replied simply. "Not without active manipulation of navigational databases across all Alliance systems." The implications hung heavy in the recycled air of the small vessel. Not just academic fraud or historical revisionism, but a conspiracy spanning thousands of worlds and countless generations. The communication system suddenly activated without command, displaying a message that chilled Nilara's circulation system. "They're watching you now. Trace the source," she ordered Der-7. Unable to comply. "Transmission origin exists outside standard communication protocols. We need to move," Talon said urgently, his sensory crystals darkening with stress. "If someone knows what we've discovered." "Too late," Elix interrupted, pointing to the vessel's external sensors. An official Alliance security cruiser had appeared, broadcasting identification codes reserved for the highest levels of authority. "Attention, research vessel," came a voice that Nilara recognized with dread. "This is Director Xorix of Stellar Security Division. Your vessel is harboring stolen artifacts and accessing restricted information. Prepare for immediate boarding." Der-7's voice dropped to a whisper, a feature not included in its programming. "I've detected a hidden data packet embedded in the transmission. Activating would violate my security protocols." "Override protocols," Nilara commanded. "Authorization Vorex Prime 7. The data packet expanded into a simple message. "Use the old man's ship. Archives beneath CD Alpha. Find the archivist." Director Xorix is initiating docking procedures, Elix reported anxiously. "We have less than 3 minutes." Nilara made her decision. Der-7, activate Vorex's personal ship systems. "We're about to become fugitives." "Vorex, you magnificent paranoid genius." Nilara whispered as his personal ship, the Ephemeral Truth, slipped past the Alliance security cruiser. The vessel appeared ancient and unremarkable from the outside. A standard research craft at least 2 centuries out of date. Inside, however, it contained stealth technology that shouldn't exist, rendering it virtually invisible to modern tracking systems. More importantly, its outdated identification protocols still registered as valid in Alliance networks, a security oversight Orcs had deliberately maintained. "We have successfully entered translocation," DR7 announced. Security cruiser attempting pursuit, but their sensors show no clear trajectory. Talon studied the ship's unusual navigation system. "These engine configurations don't match any documented Alliance designs. The efficiency ratios are impossible." "Where exactly are we heading?" Alex asked, her form rippling with nervous energy. "Sheti Alpha System," Nilara replied, activating the coordinates from the mysterious message. "A mining outpost at the edge of Alliance space, supposedly abandoned after resource depletion 50 cycles ago." The journey took 3 days, during which time Alliance broadcasts labeled them dangerous fugitives, offering substantial rewards for information. More troubling were the charges: theft of classified materials and attempted access to restricted historical archives, designated existential security priority. "Whatever we've stumbled onto," Talon observed grimly, "it's important enough for Director Xorix himself to manage the pursuit." Sheti Alpha appeared on their view screen, a desolate system with a dying star and 5 barren planets. They approached the Third World, a rocky wasteland once valued for rare mineral deposits. Scans detecting no Alliance presence, DR7 reported, but unusual energy signatures beneath the surface of the main abandoned settlement. They landed near the ruins of the mining colony. Wearing environmental suits, they navigated through structures half buried in red dust. Nilara followed a signal from Vorex's personal scanner, leading them to what appeared to be a collapsed storage facility. "The entrance should be here," she said, frustrated by the featureless rubble. "Perhaps we need the correct key," suggested Alex, examining strange markings barely visible on a fallen support beam. Nilara removed the small device taken from the Kepler facility, the human phone, and held it near the markings. The ground trembled as a hidden door slid open, revealing a passage downward. The tunnel led to a vast underground chamber filled with data storage units. At its center stood a being unlike any Nilara had encountered, part organic, part mechanical, with multiple limbs that seemed to phase between physical states. "Welcome, Seekers," it said in a voice that echoed strangely. "I am the Archivist. You've brought questions about humanity. I've waited a very long time for someone to ask them again." The chamber illuminated, revealing walls covered with images of bipedal beings, humans, engaged in activities across countless worlds. Historical records, cultural artifacts, and technological schematics surrounded them in overwhelming abundance. "How is this possible?" Nilara asked, overwhelmed. "Every official database in the Alliance has been systematically purged," the Archivist finished. "This archive exists offline, unreachable by conventional networks. It contains the true history that the Guardians have spent millennia erasing." "Why?" Talon demanded. "Why erase an entire species from history?" The Archivist gestured, and a holographic display activated, showing footage that defied comprehension. Humans manipulating the fabric of reality itself, creating and collapsing dimensional boundaries with casual ease. "Because of what they created," the Archivist answered, "and what followed them into our galaxy." A proximity alert blared through the chamber. On the surface, Alliance vessels had arrived. Dozens of them, led by Director Xorix's flagship. "They found us," Alex whispered. "They always do," the Archivist replied calmly. "But this time, we're ready. The question is, are you ready to learn the truth that will make you as hunted as humanity?" "We can't outrun them forever," Talon said grimly, his crystalline appendages dimming with fatigue. The ephemeral truth hurtled through space, pushing Vorex's modified engines beyond safe parameters. Behind them, Director Xorix's pursuit fleet had been reduced to just 3 vessels, the most advanced in the Alliance, but they were slowly gaining ground. Their escape from City Alpha had been chaotic. The Archivist had transferred vast amounts of data to their ship before activating defense systems that collapsed the underground facility. In the confusion, they'd slipped away, but not before Xorix himself had broadcast a chilling message. There is nowhere in Alliance space you can hide. The coordinates are decrypted, Alex announced, her form barely maintaining cohesion after days without proper rest. The restricted region lies just beyond the Helios boundary. The Helios boundary, the edge of explored space, beyond which lay only void, according to official charts. For centuries, Alliance vessels that approached the boundary experienced navigation failures and were forced to turn back. The Archivist's data indicates the boundary itself is artificial, DR7 stated, processing the new information. A sophisticated energy field designed to repel and redirect approaching vessels while altering sensor readings. Nilara studied the holographic display showing their destination. If we're interpreting the data correctly, what lies beyond isn't empty space, but thousands of preserved worlds surrounding a central solar system, Earth's system. The energy requirements for such a deception would be incalculable, Talon muttered, his scientific mind struggling with the implications. As they approached the boundary, the pursuing Alliance vessels increased speed, their weapons systems powering up. They're preparing to fire, DR7 warned. Impact in 47 seconds. Activate Vorex's final protocol, Nilara commanded, inserting the encryption key from the Kepler facility into the ship's unusual interface. The ship shuddered as hidden systems came online. The view screen flickered, displaying unfamiliar symbols before resolving into a message in standard Alliance text. Reflection protocol initiated. Dimensional phase shift in progress. The pursuing vessels fired, their energy weapons cutting through space toward them, only to pass harmlessly through the ephemeral truth as its physical form seemed to shift slightly out of alignment with reality itself. What's happening? Alex gasped as the stars outside distorted. We're not just approaching the boundary, Talon realized, his scientific training giving way to awe. We're passing through it. The fabric of space itself seemed to ripple around them as the ship penetrated the energy field. For a moment, all systems failed, plunging them into darkness. When emergency power returned, the view outside had transformed completely. Where sensors had once shown empty void, there now appeared thousands of worlds. Pristine planets orbiting in perfect mathematical arrangement around a central yellow star. Each world glowed with signs of careful maintenance, but showed no obvious inhabitants, like preserved specimens in a cosmic collection. The planets are in suspended animation, DR7 announced, analyzing the readings. Environmental conditions precisely maintained but lacking sapient population. At the center of this impossible arrangement lay a blue-green world that matched Vorex's descriptions of Earth exactly. Long-range scans detected an energy field unlike anything in known science surrounding the entire solar system. Another boundary, Nilara whispered. A boundary within a boundary. As they approached this inner threshold, their instruments registered increasing reality distortions. The ship's systems began failing one by one. We can't survive this transition without help, Talon warned, his form beginning to lose molecular cohesion as reality itself seemed to warp around them. Then, without warning, the distortions ceased. Their vessel hung in space, bathed in a beam of energy emanating from the blue-green world ahead. A voice spoke through their communication system, in perfect Alliance standard language, but with an accent none had ever heard before. Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted space. State your origin and purpose. We seek knowledge of humanity, Nilara responded, her voice steady despite her racing hearts. We have evidence they existed but were erased from Alliance records. Silence stretched for what felt like eternity. Then the beam surrounding their vessel pulsed with gentle blue light. Vorex protocol recognized. The voice replied, surprising them all. Transit assistance initiated. The space around their ship seemed to fold inward. Stars blurred and stretched as reality itself twisted. Nilara's team experienced momentary disorientation before the viewscreen cleared, revealing a transformed vista. Where moments before they had seen only the distant blue-green world, they now found themselves surrounded by activity beyond comprehension. Massive structures orbited every planet in the system. Vessels of elegant, powerful design moved with impossible grace between worlds. Energy patterns they couldn't begin to understand flowed through the system like cosmic rivers. Impossible, whispered Talon, his scientific mind struggling to process what his senses reported. The energy requirements alone. Their small vessel was quickly flanked by sleek ships that appeared from nowhere. Instead of weapons, these vessels projected scanning beams that washed over the ephemeral truth. Genetic profiles confirmed. The communication system announced. Preparation for physical interaction complete. Welcome to Sol System. Please maintain position for escort. The escort guided them toward a massive orbital structure circling Earth. Unlike Alliance stations with their utilitarian design, this structure resembled art. Flowing lines and impossible geometries that somehow merged perfect functionality with aesthetic beauty. As they docked, Nilara noticed something strange. The artificial gravity. It feels different. Not artificial, DR7 corrected, analyzing readings. This structure manipulates gravitational fields themselves rather than simulating their effects. The airlock cycled, revealing a corridor that adjusted its dimensions as they washed, accommodating their varied physiologies perfectly. At the corridor's end stood a figure unlike any they had seen before. Bipedal, with 2 arms, cloth-covered skin, and facial features matching Vorex's descriptions exactly. A human. Welcome, she said, her voice matching the one from the communication system. I am Ambassador Eliana Chen. You've traveled a very long way for answers. Nilara stepped forward, her academic training momentarily forgotten in the face of this living impossibility. You exist. Humans actually exist. Ambassador Chen smiled. An expression Nilara recognized from Vorex's notes as indicating friendliness. We never stopped existing. We simply stepped sideways. She gestured, and a viewing wall materialized, showing Earth below. A vibrant world of blue oceans and green continents, cities gleaming with technology that defied Alliance understanding. 15 millennia ago, Chen explained, our scientists detected entities approaching from the galactic rim. Beings we named the Harvesters that systematically eliminate advanced civilizations. She led them into a vast chamber where other humans worked at stations that seemed to operate on thought alone. 3-dimensional models of multiple galaxies rotated overhead, certain regions highlighted in pulsing red. Instead of fleeing or fighting a war we couldn't win, we developed dimensional technology to hide our entire solar system in a pocket universe where we could advance our civilization while remaining undetected. Elix, struggling to maintain composure, asked the question on everyone's mind. Why create the Alliance? Why manipulate the history of thousands of species across the galaxy? Chen's expression turned solemn. To protect them. From themselves, from the Harvesters, and from what we had to become to survive. The chamber darkened as she activated a secure viewing protocol. It's time you learned what's coming, and why we need your help to save everyone, including those hunting you. The chamber transformed around them, becoming a vast galactic display. Nilara and her companions found themselves floating among stars, planets, and nebulae in perfect interactive detail. This is the Milky Way as it existed 15,000 years ago, explained Strategic Director Marcus Reeves, who had joined Ambassador Chen. Unlike her diplomatic smoothness, Reeves possessed a military precision, his movements economical, and eyes constantly assessing. With a gesture, he highlighted a spiral arm where thousands of star systems glowed blue. Human expansion at our technological peak. We had settled nearly 8,000 worlds and made contact with 32 spacefaring species. The display shifted, showing dark patches spreading across the galaxy like infection, consuming star systems. Then the harvesters arrived. Not a species, but a technology. Self-replicating machines designed to catalog and preserve biological and technological samples before sterilizing regions of space. Why? Asked Talon, his crystalline appendages vibrating with horror. We never learned their creator's purpose, Reeves answered. Perhaps conservation, perhaps research. Their programming only allows interaction through collection. Negotiation is impossible. The display shifted again, focusing on Earth and its solar system. Streams of light depicted thousands of vessels converging. Facing extinction, humanity enacted the reflection protocol, using dimensional engineering to create a pocket universe where we could continue to exist undetected. Not just our homeworld, but thousands of preserved biospheres containing species from worlds already harvested. The museum planets we saw, Nilara whispered, understanding dawning. Chen nodded. Each one preserves environments and species the harvesters had already cataloged and eliminated elsewhere. But the Alliance? Alex asked. Why create it? Why erase yourselves from history? Reeves expanded the display to show the present galaxy, with a bright network of Alliance worlds interconnected by trade routes and communication links. The harvesters ignore developing civilizations below certain technological thresholds. After securing our dimensional sanctuary, we established the Guardians, agents tasked with guiding galactic development along safe paths while removing evidence of our existence. Director Exorix, Nilara realized. He's one of your agents. The head Guardian, Chen confirmed. Maintaining the necessary deception for millennia, ensuring species develop without attracting harvester attention. The display shifted, showing the dimensional barrier surrounding Earth rippling with instabilities. Now we face two critical problems, Reeves continued. First, our dimensional technology is developing microscopic instabilities. Within decades, full collapse is probable. The galactic map highlighted a massive object moving toward Alliance space. Second, the harvesters have altered course. They're centuries ahead of predictions, heading directly toward densely populated Alliance sectors. We believe they've detected our dimensional signature. Nilara struggled to process the implications. You need to evacuate. Join the Alliance openly. Impossible, Chen replied gently. The Alliance was carefully designed to maintain biological diversity while keeping technological advancement at carefully managed levels. Our technology would destabilize that balance instantly, and the harvesters would follow. Then what do you need from us? Talon demanded. Reeves dissolved the galactic display, returning them to the chamber. Alliance species possess unique cognitive frameworks and biological attributes that, when combined with human adaptability, create unexpected solutions. We've developed defenses against the harvesters, but implementing them galaxy-wide requires perspectives we no longer possess. You need us, Nilara said slowly, to convince a galaxy that humans exist and pose no threat, when the evidence of both has been systematically erased by your own agents for thousands of years. Chen touched a control panel, displaying Director Exorix's pursuit fleet now suspended in dimensional stasis just outside the boundary. We need to begin with them, she said. The Guardians must become revealers. Will you help us? You're asking them to accept a reality that contradicts everything they've been taught for generations, Nilara said, facing Director Exorix and his senior officers in Earth's diplomatic chamber. The transition had been delicate. Human technicians had carefully extracted the Alliance vessels from dimensional stasis, then guided them through a controlled passage into Earth's pocket universe. The shock on the Alliance officers' faces upon seeing actual humans had been profound. Director Exorix, revealed now as the head Guardian, stood rigid, his exoskeleton reflecting the room's light as he addressed Admiral Chen. 15,000 years of deception, he said, his voice uncharacteristically emotional. We believed we were protecting the galaxy from knowledge that would lead to self-destruction. Now you tell me it's time to reverse everything. The harvesters arrive in 17 months. Chen replied calmly. The dimensional barrier will fail completely in 23. We no longer have the luxury of secrecy. Screens around the chamber displayed real-time images from across Alliance space, thousands of worlds going about their daily existence, unaware of the approaching threat or the imminent revelation about to change their understanding of history. How do we even begin? Asked Commander Zextal, who had been brought to Earth with Zorix's fleet. With evidence they cannot dismiss, answered Talon, who had worked closely with human scientists over the previous weeks, and with solutions to problems they cannot solve alone. The plan took shape rapidly. Nilara and her team would return to Alliance space with human representatives and irrefutable evidence of both humanity's existence and the approaching harvester threat. Zorix and his guardians would confirm the truth, revealing their millennia-long role in maintaining the necessary deception. The revelation sent waves of disbelief, wonder, and fear across hundreds of worlds. Some leaders demanded isolation from these human deceptions. Others recognized the opportunity presented by advanced human technology. Civil unrest erupted on dozens of planets as religious and social structures grappled with revised histories. Then the Harvester scout vessel appeared at the edge of Alliance space, destroying a research outpost before anyone could respond. The threat was no longer theoretical. This is only the beginning, warned Strategic Director Reeves during an emergency session of the Alliance Council. Their main fleet arrives within a year. What followed astonished even the most skeptical Alliance leaders. Massive defense platforms materialized at strategic points throughout Alliance space, powered by dimensional engineering beyond current scientific understanding. Human scientists worked alongside Alliance experts, merging perspectives to create technologies neither could have developed alone. Most remarkable was the discovery that each Alliance species possessed unique cognitive or biological attributes that, when combined with human adaptability, created unexpected breakthroughs. The Cephians' multidimensional perception helped refine human phase shield technology. Zextal's species contributed exoskeletal designs that human engineers transformed into nearly invulnerable armor. Even DR7's obsolete but creative AI architecture proved essential in developing countermeasures to harvester communication systems. Nilara stood on the observation deck of the Alliance human flagship Conquerors, watching as the combined fleet prepared to depart for the Galactic Rim to intercept the Harvester Armada. Not bad for a species that wasn't supposed to exist, Ambassador Chen said, joining her at the viewport. Below them, Vorex's collection had become the centerpiece of the new Alliance Historical Museum, finally labeled with the truth. First contact materials, humanity's legacy preserved. He would have enjoyed this, Nilara replied, watching stars reflect off the ship's dimensional shields. The most persistent legends, Chen smiled, often contain the most important truths. As the fleet engaged its drives, humanity reminded the galaxy that sometimes the most powerful force isn't technology or numbers, but the simple audacity to defy impossible odds, a particularly human trait now spreading rapidly among their new allies.